Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today, we are going to be talking about the pay to win in Kingdom 85 Oppen Skedaddling, where leadership and players have apparently been leaving the kingdom. And is this ultimately going to end up being the fall of yet another OG kingdom? All that and more. Stay tuned. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us up, because I've said a lot of things. So let's lay a little groundwork here before we get to the main event, which is what's happening in the kingdom. Well, a number of people have been leaving, apparently, and we're going to show you a screenshot here in a moment. But just to give you some reference points, let me show you this. So this was taken a month and a half ago, where we looked at the data for just kind of a quick sum pool of any of the alliances that had 1 billion power or more. And you could see 85, they were at about almost 10 billion power. However, if we go in and we look at them now, as far as anyone kind of at 1 bill power or more, you see they're at about 6.7, right? So they're probably a little over 3 billion power lost at the moment. Now, maybe some of them could still be recovering power, but their season's been over for a while now, or at least a number of days at minimum, and they probably have been healing up. Now, that's not to say that everyone is fully healed, but I would imagine there has been quite a bit of healing that's been going on. So this number may not be too far off in that sense, right? So we can kind of average it out and say around 3 bill. Then, if we were to take a look at the KVK, in this case, they're playing winners upon us in 42. And so if we go here, you could see that, and again, whether you feel that this is relevant or not, just more so just, for the appropriate context, we could see that in their matchup, as we just showed you, which was pay to win AXT versus Beck, Laws, EXGPX, that the team of 4 ended up winning out the final zone, right? So you could say that pay to win and AXT ended up losing the season. Now, did that factor in? Maybe, maybe not. But again, context can be important. So now let's get to the main event, which is a screenshot that was taken here and provided, if you will. And from here, I ended up seeing, and we're going to read this out, right? So this was by Ruby, who's kind of one of the main, I'm not sure if co-lead, but just one of the main leadership people along with TOXSIK. And then Stan, I believe, an officer. Ruby and Stan might both be officers, but I know they're kind of a part of, from what I understand, kind of the main leadership team. So they say, and again, this was on the 17th, right? This was about a week ago. Degenerates. I had no idea that's how they referred to them when they're announcing, when they're speaking to their people. What we've built here has been nothing short of incredible. Season after season, this alliance has stood strong, driven by loyalty, heart, and a deep love of chaos. We've shared moments that we'll never forget, and it's been an absolute honor to lead alongside you. As this season comes to a close, TOXSIK, Ruby, and Stan will be stepping down from leadership and migrating at season's end. That said, we will be keeping other accounts here in a player capacity, staying connected to this alliance and all it represents, just without the daily leadership responsibilities. Okay, that's important. We'll come back to that in a moment. This is a moment of transition, and we want to be clear. We encourage each of you to carefully consider your own path forward, whether that means staying and helping shape the next chapter here, joining another alliance that better fits your goals, or choosing to link up with us elsewhere based on your own merit. The decision is yours. What matters most is that you continue to enjoy the game and stay true to what drives you. No matter where your journey takes you, we thank you deeply for your time, loyalty, and unforgettable memories we've made together. Okay. So there's a few things here that stand out to your boy. Number uno, which is they state that just without the daily leadership responsibilities. Now, when I hear that, I think, okay, I think management burnout. I think leadership burnout. And I think supervision burnout. They just don't want to have to worry about really having to do anything that basically would be an R4 or an R5, and maybe they just want to play. Nothing wrong with that. Being a member of management in Kingdom Builders is, and I say this all the time, like just so people can have a really good understanding, a very realistic approach here. It's almost as though you are a store manager. That's kind of what you are. And your officers are your department leads. And some of you might think that's a little much, but until you've been in management and you've done management well, you will then realize at some point how much can really go into it. And even my experience, not only doing that, but also running projects in 3 different games, there's a lot more to it even in that. And that kind of takes it to another level when you're kind of R6ing it, as kind of an overall umbrella approach between multiple alliances within a kingdom, not just one, or I should say, let alone one. So I sympathize with these players along with anyone else that wants to step down, take a back seat, and just kind of remove themselves. Because the thing is that you also have to consider that being in management, for the most part, and it sucks to say this, but it is just the damn truth. It's a thankless job. How many times are players going out of their way to say, just on like a random Tuesday at 11 a.m., just to reach out or say something in their alliance and say, listen, man, I just want to give a huge shout out to all of our officers, to our leads. We might not have any real idea on how much time you guys put in, but thank you so much for the work. And even if they said something like, man, the last event we thought was planned out really well. We appreciate all the notice and it paid off for us. So I just want to give a shout out and say thank you guys for all the work you do. Like, how many times are you just getting anyone? And I'm not saying it has to be on a daily occurrence, but how often do you really see players in your own alliances that, like, when you do something or like you feel like, man, I crushed it. Like, I'm the type where if like for me, I think writing alliance mails, hosting town hall meetings, doing anonymous Q&As, these are just some of the things that I think really help out. Like, they're very community focused, especially if you do them right and you can do them well. And I can't tell you how much satisfaction I get from just writing just a bomb arse, well-formatted, well-structured, easy to digest, easy to read alliance mail, right? Discord announcement. It gives me the greatest joy to know that I didn't write a wall of text. I hit all the points, couple sentences each. Right, everything was structured very well, so it's not like you have to dive super deep. You're able to kind of figure out what all the parts are, and you can hopefully have an easier time consuming. That, to me, is exciting. Now, that may not necessarily be exciting to everyone. I understand that. But these are some of the things that I can tell you bring me joy. And everyone's like, damn, bro, being nerding so hard right now. That's right! But everyone, you can make an argument, has a breaking point, right? Has a tolerance level. And the fact is that where I'm trying to connect this is that when you don't have any kind of appreciation that's being publicly shown and or privately shown, all that does is just create even more weight on management. And I'm not saying that that is the overbearing or that's the biggest factor, but it is one. And Because like this is the thing, when you're in management, dude, like you're kind of on Gilligan's Island. You're just on an island with the other management team, and that's it, right? I can't tell you how many kingdoms I've ran as projects, or I've been a part of for someone else's, and just being a part of management. And it is truly a thankless job. Like you are rarely getting you're not getting pats on the back daily or even every other day. Hell, even once a week, once a month. Like it is rare. In on average, I'm not going to say everywhere, but on average, it is rare that you're going to get multiple people. Even like I said, even if it's heck once a year of people that are just really taking the time out of their day to acknowledge your efforts and give you, right, that kind of round of applause-ish, if you will. So again, take that how you see fit. The other side of this is that, and sorry, this kind of gets me to number 2 here, right, where they say whether that means, right, consider your own path. We encourage each of you to consider your own path forward, whether that means staying and helping shape the next chapter here. However, and I want to point out, this is just one mail, so I don't know what else was said. I can tell you, if I was a player reading this, what would I like to hear? Well, what I would have liked to hear, what I would have liked to see, and or if this is there, fantastic, but I don't know. And so for me, the way you transition and the way you exit matters to me. That's important. So, did you have a good transition? Did you have a good exit plan on, for example, if these 3 people knew they were going to leave, did they all have a conversation with management? Okay. Did that conversation with management entail, hey, does anyone want to step up and lead? Does anyone want to be temp lead? Does anyone want to co-lead with someone else, maybe while you look to find other people? Does anyone want to take the torch or see the torch passed so they can continue to carry that on? And if so, then that should be explained. If not, then that should be explained. Because you have to understand that you have 2 massively different approaches and paths that you're going to take based on this. You are effectively hearing that your R5, your king, and then you have 2 officers that are leaving, along with whomever else might potentially leave as well. And we'll talk about in a moment about where they went. However, did you transition well from your exit, prior to your exit, to setting up appropriately next steps for the kingdom, so that way people just aren't wondering like what to do next? And I'm not saying like, oh yeah, you're just going to individually DM everyone. Okay, maybe you could do that too, but I'm talking about something that's very clear, concise, and that shows you put an effort into a transition plan prior to you exiting, right? Not just, because again, I'll say this, if this is it, if this is just the mail and there's nothing else, which again, like we said, we don't know, then to me that this falls extremely short of what I would expect of professional leadership. Because I can tell you, as a couple examples, when I've ran projects and situations had come up where I was no longer going to be a part of the project, I always made sure that I spoke to and had conversations with the management team. And when I wrote announcements up, it would be speaking to the effect. Like even times where I would promote their new Discord that they were going to make for the kingdom or for the project, etc., right, that they would do. And I would explain to everyone, these are all of your options, right? If you stay, this is where you go. This is who you contact. If you want to re-jump, if you want to move forward and you want to migrate, right? These are some tips on what you can do. Like really giving people some kind of an actionable game plan and showing them the paths that they have, the options, the choices that are available to them. So anyways, that's just the one, because I want to be fair and cover both sides, right? Because we don't know, so I want to speak to both kind of effects, if you will. Then, as I get into the next part, so where did they go? Okay. So they ended up going to Kingdom 40 to join TFS. And I think Guns had covered this too as well with some of the recruits. I think he did a video on this talking about some of the new recruits that TFS got. And again, TFS at this point, and I'll probably do a separate video on them because I will say this, man. Dude, TFS is obviously one of the long-standing kind of OG alliances in the game. And I will just briefly say that to see them basically, stay number one as a kingdom and as an alliance for as long as they did, to then kind of, have the falling out that we know with the Sod Jason split and Sod's group going to 60, TFS staying, and then eventually in 23, then eventually worked their way to 40. And to see them kind of now back on the come up and finding some consistent momentum now from multiple recruitment seasons. I mean, again, man, you got to give props and credit where it's due for them to persevere, to stay diligent, and to keep working on it every season, where you can make the argument that at least in that one area, right? Or I shouldn't say at least, but I'll say in that one area, because again, I'm not going to speak to areas that I'm not completely familiar with, or if we're not touching on those in this video. But it really feels, and Jason, I want to point out, said this himself in an interview. I don't know if he did it with Guns or someone else, but he even stated that he felt like he learned his lesson, or some lessons, right? Just from a recruitment standpoint, and putting a different approach into practice now compared to what they did in 23 when they brought in ANCS, for those of you that remember, to kind of replace Sod's group that ended up leaving, and a number of others. And now kind of taking more of this, like, slow and steady wins the race approach. And again, man, proof is in the pudding. Like, it is clearly paying off. And I obviously wish them the best, and, can't wait to see what happens from there. However, now we get to the last part of it all, which is, okay, well, what is going to happen with 85? Are they going to implode? Is it just mass exodus? And basically this video acts as like, oh, wow, maybe I need to go and start recruiting some people from 85. Because, right, I mean, if you look at some of the there's still some top players, right? Still some strong players here. Right, you have, let me see, how many people now? So you got 8. That's like 12. How many people now over 100 mil, right? So look, you got 41 people over 100 mil, right? I mean, you can argue and say that 85 is just like a free agent pool right now, right? Regardless if they will leave or not and what their plans are, if you are a kingdom and you're looking for some strong players, pay to win and 85 have been known to have strong fighters. So, and that's not to sit here and say every single person is just a, S-tier performer. We're not, again, we're not saying they are or not. I'm just simply saying that you can look at this and say, man, this is like a free agent pool that I can maybe work with. So again, if I'm some of these kingdoms out there and I'm looking for, some players to fill in some possible spots and roles, like, dude, at the moment I would look at 85. Absolutely. Like, that would be one way to approach it. I'd be make an account here, or I'd look through the alliance and, wherever they're at, and I would go in here and literally I would just start looking at people and start messaging and just saying like, hey, are you interested? Are you planning to migrate? Because, it's one of those things. This is the thing about the migration now, and the one thing I'll briefly touch on is that what we're seeing a little bit more of is some kingdoms being willing to pay for merits for people to come. That could be something that, is an incentive. Kind of sucks to have to say that, because I will say this, man, I'm not a fan of the system where, and I've said this already, a number of other people have as well. Like, I just don't like the idea of, people paying for, sorry, not paying in general, but just, and it is an option, right? But kind of having to pay for people to migrate out. I just kind of feel like it'd be nice. And don't get me wrong, the improvements they've made to the permit system to migration recently that we covered are a bit better, right? It is a very small bump. I don't know if it is closer. I don't know if I'm not going to say it is in its ideal state, but it is a little bit better than what existed before. So again, right, I'd be curious on some of you out there, if how you feel about this idea of, if you're a player in a kingdom and you're being recruited, is that just all of a sudden now a part of what you ask for at minimum? And like when you're going around hunting, you're just asking a bunch of kingdoms like I'll come to you if you're willing to pay for my passports. Is that something that is becoming more of a norm? Like I would love to almost try to figure out a list of like everyone, and I probably could do this once I start getting more consistent scans from Fuzzy again, because I know we've done this like I think twice, where we covered like who moved where did they go, like it's such an interesting thing to do. And I'd love to kind of get back into doing that, but I almost would have loved to have a list of all the people that did move and then ask them like, hey, was this something that you just asked for by like minimum? Just so I can maybe get a glance at like what is the free agent market asking for, looking at, requesting, demanding, expecting. Like that could be interesting as well. Anyways, that is pretty much it for me on this one. As always, man, if you guys have any stories, if you get any news, if you got something that you want to share and hasn't been made public yet, and you're okay with me covering it, man, slide into your boys' DMs anytime. You guys can always reach out to me too as well in game on my main, which I can like briefly show that here, right? So that's my ID, that's my name, it's in 65. Anyone that messages me on this account, I always answer. I'll always message you back. That's like the one way to get a hold of me in game, but otherwise just, feel free to reach out to me on Discord. All right, that's it for me. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.